Hello everyone, this is Pawan here and I have with me Janmejay.
Hey.
In this video, we will be talking about how to set up test load balancer on a project which uses Cucumber for tests and Rake for building. Before we move on, we recommend watching this video on as high resolution as possible. We recommend 720 pics on YouTube because it is very heavy on textual data. Okay, so going back to the actual video, for the demonstration purpose, we have a project sample project which uses Cucumber for tests. The layout of this project is what you see in front of you. We have a features directory which has a bunch of features in it. Then we have a step definitions directory under the features directory which has a bunch of fixtures for these features. And finally we have a rake file. This looks like a typical Cucumber project setup. Let's look at what the rake file has. It just has one task called test, which is basically the Cucumber default task. Let's just execute that and see what happens. Now, if you had noticed in the project layout, we don't actually have the application under test in this sample project. Now, because Cucumber tests are most often used for integration tests or functional tests, the app under test may itself be a part of the same project, or it may be in a different project altogether, or there may be many different kinds of configurations in which this can be set up. Because of that, we haven't shown that. And also, what that means is the application under test itself is not important to TLB. All TLB requires is the Cucumber project itself. Right. So as you see, we have a bunch of tests that are being executed, and you might have also noticed that a few of them have failed. It's purposeful. We have kept them to fail on purpose, and we'll talk about that why that is the case later. Okay, so this run finished, and it looks like it's about 58 seconds. Right, it took about 58 seconds to run all the tests. Now, because this is a sample project, we don't have a lot of tests. And it took a small time to finish, but on a typical Cucumber suite with a lot of tests, it can take anywhere from half an hour to hours together, right? And that is exactly where you want to parallelize your Cucumber suite, and in order to do that, you would want to use test load balancer. And how this is achieved, Janmejay would run through the process.
Hey, so we have the link to the TLB website right here. So we head to the website and I see a documentation link. Let's jump right in. We get to quick start, and I see that there are sample configurations for all the build and testing tools. Let's install the TLB Cucumber gem. So TLB Cucumber gem is what makes TLB work for Cucumber, and it depends on another gem called TLB core, which is the common library that is used by all the Ruby testing libraries. Ruby testing tool support libraries to actually do the work. So TLB core does the actual work. TLB Cucumber just hooks it up with Cucumber and Rake kind of setup. So you'll see that we'll end up installing two gems here. So there I'm downloading TLB core. Alright, the download speed seems to be a little bit slow, so let's go on with our agenda. So we had seen in the documentation section that the build task fragment for a TLB enabled task is available. So let's just copy it over and place it in a common place so we can compare it with our existing rake task. And let's borrow our existing rake task as well, and I put it in the same location here, and I can see that there is supposed to be a BAL task, BAL, that means balance, which depends on TLB start and Cucumber tests. And Cucumber tests is this task that you see right here. So that looks pretty close to my actual task. So I'm just going to keep this this snippet. I'm going to move over these lines to my current build script. All right, here we go. I depend on TLB-cucumber gem. I require a file. I define a task that is a TLB Cucumber Rake task, and then I define a super task that calls this task, which first calls TLB start and then calls this task. So we save this file. Let's look at the gems. The gems have been installed. Cool. So let's go ahead with our agenda, and supposed to download the TLB server. We go back to the site. There is a download link. I go to the download page and I get the TLB server from there. Right, we have the archive. Let's go to a temporary location. You can see here that I'm in the temp directory of my computer. I want to copy the archive that I just downloaded to this place, and TLB server. So I'm pressing the archive. TLB server is so this is the directory that comes out of that archive. So one of the important things is that you need to have JVM, the Java virtual machine, the thing that runs Java code on your computer. You need to have Java virtual machine installed on both on all the build machines that participate in running your Rake and Cucumber partitions, and you also need to have JVM installed on the machine that will become TLB server. There's only one TLB server across the entire organization usually, and it needs Java because TLB, the algorithms of TLB and the core logic of TLB is written in Java. So you need to have the JVM. So here I'm going to start the server. So let us hit start. That tells me that the server is started on a certain port. That's good. Let's head over to our agenda, and I've covered that. The server is started. We need to set a bunch of environment variables, and then we can invoke our new fancy build task, and it's supposed to balance our tests. So we split up the console into two. I'm going to select the right RVM environment on the other console. To head and test TLB. Alright, so that's my RVM environment. I head over to the right project, sample projects, Cucumber example. That's my project root. You can see that I'm in the same directory on the other console as well. I am going to paste this command. The pane that you see on the left hand side, this pane is going to be the first partition, and the pane that you see on the right hand side is going to be the second partition. So I'm going to, since TLB, so the Rake task, the first thing that it does is starts a local server. The TCP port for that needs to be different across processes. So if you're running multiple processes to partition your tests on the same machine, you need to select different ports. If you're running multiple processes to partition your test on different machines, you do not need to use different TCP port numbers for that. So I'm setting the TLB balancer port here because I'm running two partitions on the same machine, and I'm going to run them simultaneously. So here we go. We are running two partitions. You can see that the tests that are being run across these two partitions are different. They are not running the same set of tests. So what TLB guarantees is it'll run a completely exclusive set of tests across partitions. No tests will be repeated, and no tests will be run twice. And you can see that there are some failures on both sides, and this partition seems to have finished in about 21 seconds right there, and the other partition is still running, and let's see when it finishes. And here we go. So it is finished. It took about 37 seconds. So you can see it's not perfect. One of them is 37 seconds, the other is 21 seconds. Let's run it again and see if it becomes any better. So TLB does this thing of recording your test data. So I'm changing a few infrastructure variables here. So there's a job name and there's job version. You can read the details about these environment variables on the TLB documentation. we have really good explanation of what each of these variables does. So since the second run, I'm calling it second. This partition number 2, that is partition number 1. Let's run it again, see how it goes. So TLB, so you would notice that the failed test, the test that failed last time, are running first. Is the first test here, the first test here, right? So TLB has this feature of running the failed tests first, and it also records your test times and tries to do optimizations on that. So when you balance for the second time or second time onwards rather. So after the first time, it knows how much time each of your tests take, which means it knows what is the best kind of balancing. So let's see if it did a better job this time. It took 29 seconds on this side and it took 29 seconds on that side. That's just perfect, right? So this is TLB at its best. Let's head over to our agenda and see where it takes us. All right, we're done with this step. All right, so whatever I've done on this video is also available for doing it on your own machine. It's a shell script called runbalance.sh. So if you look at this project root, the shell script called runbalance.sh. If you execute that shell script like that, it'll run 2 partitions, one after another. It won't run them parallelly, of course. In a real world setup, you would run them parallelly, just like I run it here. But you can use other tools to do that. And there's another archive that you can download. So there's the archive called setupexamples.tar.gz. You can just grab that, and you would have to step into the directory called example/cucumber example. So you can see the directory cucumber example here. You have to step into that directory and run the shell script, run balance.sh. That's it, and you can try it out locally. For TLB to be really productive, it needs to be a part of your build, and Pawan is going to tell you more about how to hook up TLB in your CI server setup, and I know in your regular CI workflow. So yeah.
As Janmay just demonstrated, it's really easy to set up TLB on your builds and get up and running really fast. However, in his demonstration, he used 2 shells to simulate the test being run in parallel. But as Cucumber tests are most of the times used for integration or functional tests, these tests have a tendency to have side effects, because of which you would want to run them on different machines or different virtual machines or whatever, right? In order to do that, this is a solved problem, and you might want to use the parallel execution capabilities of something like a Hudson or a Jenkins or Go, TeamCity or any other build server, and leverage the fact that you can set up environment variables as well in them, and then get them to execute your the TLB enabled builds. Now, because that itself requires an elaborate explanation of how the configuration needs to be done, we'll be covering those as a part of our next series of videos. But until then, you can start setting up test load balancer on your current test suite. Until the next video, happy hacking!